think one of the most dangerous assumptions that people make is believing that because something worked for someone else, that it should work for them. The older I get, the more I realize that advice without context can be just as dangerous as bad advice. Because somewhere along the way, we've been taught that if somebody has the outcome, that they must have the answer. They have the marriage, they have the money, they have the business, they have the confidence, they have the life we want. So naturally we assume, tell me what you did. But what if that's the wrong question? Hey guys, if you're new here, my name is Nancy Glow, and on this channel, I share reflections on self-awareness, womanhood, personal growth, intentional living, and everyday life. Sometimes that looks like fashion, beauty, and lifestyle content, and other times it looks like conversations like this, where we take everyday situations and use them as a lens to better understand ourselves and the world around us. Because I'm less interested in what happened and more interested in what happened reveals about us. And if you do like the content that I make, it would mean the world to me if you go down below and click that subscribe button. Thank you. Now, the question I've been asking is this: why are people so obsessed with blueprints? The moment someone achieves something desirable, people immediately want the formula. How did you meet the husband? Oh, what was that prayer? Girl, we need the prayer. How did you lose the weight? How did you grow your platform? How did you build your business? How did you become confident? And to be fair, I understand it. People are looking for guidance. People are trying to avoid unnecessary mistakes. People are trying to learn from others. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I think something interesting happens when our desire for guidance becomes our desire for certainty. Because certainty feels good. It feels safe. A blueprint promises that if you do this, you will get this. And most people love that idea, like eating it up. Now, recently I came across a creator who is teaching women how to date until engagement without commitment. Now, whether I agree with her advice isn't actually the point. What caught my attention was how quickly people accept the blueprint because of the outcome. She's married, so the assumption is she must have the answer. And that's what got me thinking. How often do we confuse outcome with expertise? How often do we assume that because something worked for someone, that they've identified the reason it works? Because those are two very different things. Sometimes people are explaining an outcome through the lens of their experience, but experience doesn't always tell us the full story. There are things happening underneath the surface that we don't see. Timing, discernment, life stage, emotional maturity, values, character, opportunity, circumstances. And yet people often reduce that complexity into, well, tell me what you did. Like, girl, it's not that simple. I think that's where a lot of people get themselves in trouble, because they're looking for strategies when they should be developing discernment. They're asking what worked before asking, would this even make sense for me? For example, if someone tells you how they built a successful business, that advice might be useful, but that doesn't automatically mean it will be useful for you. Not because the advice is wrong, but because you may be starting from a different place. Different resources, different responsibilities, different strengths, different weaknesses, different priorities, different season of life. The same advice can produce completely different outcomes depending on the person receiving it. And honestly, I think this is why self-awareness is so important. Because self-awareness helps you evaluate advice instead of blindly adopting it. It helps you recognize what's for me, what's not for me, what season am I in, what am I actually capable of sustaining right now, what areas of my life still need work. Because if we're not careful, we could take so much time studying somebody else's life that we never take inventory of our own. And that's a dangerous place to be, because there's no blueprint that can replace discernment. And the more I think about it, the more I believe that the goal isn't finding the perfect blueprint. The goal is becoming the kind of person who can decide which advice pertains to them and which one does not. Context, baby. Nuance. Perspective. All of it. Because sometimes the most important question is not always what did they do. Sometimes the better question is, why did it work for them? And even more importantly, would it work for me? Because maybe the problem isn't that people are sharing their blueprints. Maybe the problem is we are consuming them without context. And context changes everything. If these messages are landing, please hit the like button. It genuinely helps. But hey, what are your thoughts? Let me know in the comment. Until next time. Okay, bye.